Conviction has been overturned by a federal judge.
Flipped like a buttermilk pancake.
Testimony in a related case contradicted key evidence presented at your trial.
Woody Harrelson is released from prison but soon finds himself on the other side of the law in a fake kidnapping scheme engineered by Elizabeth Shue in the romantic detective story called Palmetto, and that's one of 6 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is Palmetto, which has a lot of visual style, 2 first-rate lead actors, but my heart sank as its tired premise unfolded, a double-crossing yarn about an inside family kidnapping job. Let's see, we've had similar stories in Fargo and Excess Baggage, and the double-crossing plot is done a lot these days. Elizabeth Shue plays the randy stepmom who approaches ex-reporter Woody Harrelson, fresh out of the Slammer, with a proposition to help stage the kidnapping of her stepdaughter and split the ransom to be paid by the girl's wealthy father.
The ransom will be $500,000. I need someone to be the threatening voice on the telephone. And for making that call and for collecting the ransom, I'm willing to pay 10%. That's $50,000.
Harrelson ends up meeting the girl to be kidnapped, and she's a looker played by Chloe Sevigny.
Can I get you a Coke or something?
Don't you have anything stronger than that?
Well, no, the law says you gotta be 21 to drink in this state.
So?
I always obey the law.
The story becomes more complicated when Harrelson's girlfriend, played by Gina Gershon, catches him with the kidnapping money.
What's going on?
Nina, nothing is going on. Nothing.
This is about that girl, isn't it? The one that was kidnapped.
Palmetto is attractive, but I have simply seen too many stories built along the lines of this one. I'd rather spend more time with fewer characters and fewer plot twists. A mixed review, but thumbs down for me.
You're right on the money, Gene. This is a movie that has one of those twist and twist and twist again, and then everything else is wrong things where finally you just say, oh, come on, you're just toying with me here.
Early on you say it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not at the end.
And then you find out they were really toying with you. Now, good actors.
Of course.
Good scenery. Florida is a great state for film noir. Look at Body Heat, for example.
Right.
But the direction doesn't really get the irony and the style going. It's too plotting. And then the story just...
and I think this is a case of why are we getting all of this kind of stuff? Because a new generation of filmmakers is in love with film noir, as every generation falls in love with them.
But this one was directed by Volker Schlondorf, who is over 60 and really ought to know better.
Well, he should.
Okay. Next movie. Our next movie stars Marlon Wayans of the large and talented Wayans family, playing a college student who needs tuition money and agrees to be a guinea pig in the test of an experimental new drug. What the drug does is incredibly enhance his 5 senses, but the experiment backfires when he takes a double dose. In this scene, 4 of his senses are working super well, but his vision has shut down.
You seen Patrick Ewing's Got Milk commercial? Man, Got Milk? I had milk. I seen Patrick Ewing's ugly ass drinking it. He make a brother lactose intolerant. He look like a Haitian Sasquatch.
Jamaican.
And of course, that's Patrick Ewing. Wayans' ambition is to win a competition among economics students for a prize job on Wall Street. His main competition is the supercilious David Spade.
I'm kind of the pace car in this employment 500. 3.8 GPA, varsity sailing, Kappa House social chairman.
Your dad runs the 3rd largest bank in Manhattan.
Oh, yeah, and that.
Spade's determined to keep Wayans out of his fraternity, but with the experimental drug making him into a Superman, Wayans has no problem surviving the initiation rites.
Yeah!
My mom hits harder than that.
Marlon Wayans seems to be working in the tradition of Jim Carrey in this movie and doing a pretty good job of it, too, but Senseless lets him down with too many side plots, including one about a sex bomb whose scenes lack all motivation or common sense, and the roommate character seems to belong in a different kind of movie. Senseless occasionally gets a comedy riff rolling only to let the plot turn at right angles and drift away into distraction. So I liked Wayans, but not the movie.
We're again totally in sync because it's just too much plotting here. extra characters that don't mean anything.
Yeah.
We want to see him go through these situations. Frankly, more of him with the business issue. And if there's something that's not missing, he wants to be an intern at a Wall Street, and a junior analyst at a Wall Street firm. Where is the crisis of him thinking about what he's doing, playing into the system? That scene is an obvious scene that should have been there, as opposed to these extra
he wants to be in the system. I mean, that's just a given. He wants to work on Wall Street. But the whole thing with the senses clicking in and out, first he can see and not hear, then he can hear but not see, that's funny, and funny enough to supply the whole movie.
Exactly right. You don't need all that extra stuff. Coming up later, editing is what we're calling for in both of these pictures. Heavy editing at the screenplay level. Coming up later, Vanessa Redgrave and a love story of what might have been in Mrs. Dalloway.
He makes me feel safe.
Safe? Is that what you want?
Coming up next, a historical drama about sex and the Inquisition in 16th century Venice.
You need to understand men. You must know pleasure to give pleasure. Secret of all great courtesans. You must know pleasure to give pleasure.
Our next film is called Dangerous Beauty, and it's a real treat. A royal soap opera of sorts involving the true story of a beautiful young woman who sells herself as a courtesan to the richest, most powerful men of 16th century Venice and brings the wrath of the Inquisition upon her. The character of Veronica Franco, played by the lovely Catherine McCormick, wants to marry a man above her station. And to snare him, her mother, Jacqueline Bissett, suggests something shocking, that she become a courtesan, a sexual companion for hire.
I had hoped to buy you a good marriage. But your father drank away your dowry. Your brother must buy his posting. And I am too old. It is you who must support us now.
Her first client is a powerful politician.
So, you didn't tell me everything. How could I?
Here she teases the man she really loves, played by Rufus Sewell, who has since married for money.
Why, Marco Venier, I do believe you're jealous.
One can only be jealous of what one cannot have.
And you cannot have me.
There's not a woman in Venice I can't have.
And there's not a man in Venice that I can't have.
As that story unfolds, Veronica travels in heady company, including no less than the King of France.
Who's that? She's not with the others. Veronica Franco, Your Excellency. The poetess. She a courtesan? She is, Your Highness. Tell her to come forward.
Dangerous Beauty is recommended for mature audiences and those with an interest in history. I was often fascinated by it.
Boy, I was too. First of all, I like the look of the movie.
Sure.
These shots in Venice, and they use special effects to clear out the motorboats and put in the gondolas.
I know.
Then the story. You know, with the controversy going on in Washington right now, we've heard about how Europeans are amazed at America's puritanical streak. And in Europe, they assume that the heads of state fool around. You know, they've been doing that for 400 years. Well, this is a movie about a woman who is very realistic, and so is her mother, about exactly what is open to a woman in Venice in the 16th century. And she gets right to the center of power and is a wonderful consort for these men in intellectual ways. The point is, she keeps saying a woman is sexy not because of her body, but because of her mind. It's an interesting character.
Also, in addition to the character, I want to go back to the history being taught here. And here's something that brings in a lot of fascinating material in a very quick way. The final sequence with the Inquisition, with church against state, that's very well written.
Yes, and you know, another thing, this could have been kind of a serious historical drama. What I also like, in addition to everything we talked about, is the fact that it's lighthearted, it's sexy, it's pretty, it's romantic, and it's funny. It's got everything.
That is a recommendation. When we come back, Vanessa Redgrave stars as Mrs. Dalloway, a woman whose life might have turned out very differently.
And where are you off to?
To buy flowers for my party. I love walking in London on a day like this. It's better than in the country.
With thoughts of her own hiding beneath that cool exterior, that was Vanessa Redgrave as Mrs. Dalloway, the heroine of Virginia Woolf's famous 1925 novel, in which a woman of 52 wonders if her life took the wrong turning many years earlier. Mrs. Dalloway, now married to a safe but boring politician, will give one of her famous parties later that evening, but in the afternoon, she receives an unexpected visit from the man who loved her when she was young.
I heard about your father. I should have written to you, of course, though I never really got on with him.
But he never liked anyone who
wanted to marry you.
That's Michael Kitchen as her early love, Peter, and the movie uses flashbacks to show her early life, including this one where she's invited to choose between Peter, then a somewhat alarming young man, and her safe future husband, Mr. Dalloway.
My name is Dalloway. What's the matter?
Somebody's just walked over my grave.
I think I got you confused with another family friend of ours.
She's going to marry that man.
The story of Mrs. Dalloway is intercut with a seemingly unrelated story involving a young World War I veteran suffering from shell shock. He's played by Rupert Graves.
Evans? Evans! For God's sake, don't come!
And there's another thread as well, hinting that Mrs. Dalloway's decision to play it safe in marriage may have been linked to suppressed homosexual feelings. Virginia Woolf's novel was one of the first uses of the stream of consciousness technique, reflecting the thoughts of the character. And in this movie, director Marlene Goris, who made Antonia's line, handles that by letting us listen to Mrs. Dalloway's private thoughts all day long as she puts on a brave face for the world. The movie has no easy answers. You can't say she should have done this instead of that. Instead, you're encouraged to think about the choices we all make in life. Mrs. Dalloway is one of those movies that's delicate on the surface and almost brutal in its implications.
Oh, that's very well said, Roger. And what I like about this film and why the James novels and this Woolf novel translate, I'm thinking, why do these pop off the screen when historical dramas are some of the most tough things to make real? But why? Because it is the dialogue, and it is that the characters know their emotions and let us know in very direct ways. When she at one point says she wants safety, security, that just leaves
what I like about
it's so
this
great
movie,
to hear that.
If you only heard what she says to other people in this movie, you would never know what she was thinking. You only really learn what she's thinking by the flashbacks and by the interior monologue. And so often in life, I think people like Mrs. Dalloway do go through life, living in their memories and in their private thoughts, and just being real polite to everyone on the outside.
But again, we do get to know these characters in ways we don't get to know American characters, because they, again, are in the service typically of an action sequence.
That's right.
Or in service of the plot, not in service of their emotions. And you're handicapping actors. Think about it. An actor is only dealing with emotions, and we don't get to hear them.
You're right. You're right. Coming up next, the story of a brutal drunk who inherits his father's callousness. Gary Oldman's Nil by Mouth is next.
When I bite into a York peppermint patty, I get the sensation I'm riding the luge, racing at over 100 miles per hour as the wind whips over my body.
York peppermint patty. Get the sensation.
It's pitch dark, and boom, the elevator falls 13 floors to the ground.
You went to Walt Disney World?
I got a 6-year-old brother, man. My parents dragged me along. And Space Mountain is so fast, 3 hours after, my knuckles were still wiggling. You went to Disney World? Cut me some slack, man.
Now, see, he's got a little brother, so his parents made him go.
Oh, and you want to see a wicked water slide.
Call 1407W Disney and make the dream come true.
Mom, are you too old to have more kids?
Right. Well, you know, sometimes I leave the house, I don't have any cash on me. And so I get a cash advance, because then I can take a cab over to where my daughters are and give them money, which is the reason why I'm out there in the first place.
It pays to discover. Accepted where you see the Novus sign.
Nil by Mouth is a powerhouse drama of drunken rages, spousal abuse, and characters who can't seem to get out of the way of poisonous behavior. This is the first film written and directed by the fine English actor Gary Oldman, who dedicates it to his own father, and I'm not sure what that tells us about his dad. The story is of a sick marriage between a vicious drunk named Ray and his abused wife, Valerie, who accepts him back in her life after he has beaten her brutally for the umpteenth time. This time so badly she has miscarried their child. This is Ray Winstone and Kathy Burke in a pair of unforgettable performances.
Coming on. We ain't got time to go back to, Ray. Everything in that place is smashed. Jesus, I mean, I feel like you really must hate me.
can't I?
Well, I don't feel loved. I mean, that ain't love. I mean, can't you see the mess we're in? You not notice what we're like? I mean, we don't talk anymore. When you go, just get in, Mum, will ya? Just get in, I'm dealing with it.
And there are more twisted characters in this brutal slice of life. Valerie's brother is a heroin addict and a petty thief.
You've got some front coming round here. Ray's on his way round. He's just come off the phone and he sounds boozed.
Yeah, so?
Well, it's tough, isn't he? He's got the over that picture.
What picture?
You walked off with his last picture. What are you tough with me? What are you laughing at?
Nil by Mouth is sadly one of many such spousal abuse stories we've gotten from Britain. But even though these pictures may make you shrink in horror, they do shine a light on a hidden, all-too-common trauma, and Nil by Mouth exposes it well. Congratulations to writer-director Gary Oldman.
Oh, I agree, too. I think this is one of the year's best pictures. I've seen it twice now, and it is so true and so unflinching, and yet so psychologically complicated, because here is this brutal man who has a nice side. We see that he has a loving side, and he can be a nice father, but at the same time, when he drinks, he goes into this Jekyll and Hyde personality transformation. And then, in a key scene late in the movie, he talks about his own father who was never there, who just sat in the chair drinking all the time and never gave him a hug.
Nothing by the mouth, nothing positive by the nil by mouth.
Nothing came out that way, only bad things went in. And you realize this monster feels inside himself like a brutalized child. He is still angry at his own father.
You see, it's passed from generation to, you know, now people know this subject matter because we've seen it, you know, on talk shows and all this. But it is stunning, and why they stay connected to each other, why she takes him back, how people get trapped in these situations. This feels, it's puzzling, and yet it's real.
And then that wonderful last scene where the whole family is together talking about the kid who's now in jail, and you see that in these grim, depressing circumstances, still somehow there is resiliency and humor, which I think Oldman also wanted to indicate.
It's hard to accept, but we do see it. When we come back, the bizarre melodrama of Live Flesh, about a collision between two love triangles.
Dad, it's Mr. Schramm from the bank again.
Tell him I died.
He said he's dead.
In a moment of inspiration, Professor Krippendorf invented a new tribe.
What are they called?
But now,
I don't think there is a Shelmickable tribe.
he has to prove they exist.
The Shelmickable do not allow the pictures taken without the ritual body paint on.
Richard Dreyfuss, Jenna Elfman, and Lily Tomlin, Krippendorf's tribe.
Who is the adult in this room? Don't answer that!
Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, February 27th.
Pedro Almodovar from Spain is a director who loves extravagant gestures and melodramatic excess, and Live Flesh is his best movie in 10 years, using humor and lurid sensationalism to tell a story of violence and romance. As the film opens, a naive young man named Victor has gone to the apartment of a woman who once made love with him, but tonight she wants drugs, not a date, and after she calls the cops, there's a struggle for the gun. The younger cop is shot, and the would-be Romeo is sent to jail. Years pass, and the cop, who is paralyzed, becomes a wheelchair athlete and marries the woman who gets off drugs and becomes a social worker. And then when Victor gets out of prison, the ex-cop warns him to stay away from his wife.
Pero yo no tengo nada que ver.
Hombre, un poco sí, ¿no? Un poco sí. Yo antes de conocerte miraba para arriba, miraba el sol, las estrellas, la luna. Después de conocerte tengo que mirar al suelo.
That's Liberto Rabal as Victor and Javier Bardem as the paralyzed man. Meanwhile, Victor has an affair with the wife of the older cop who teaches him the ways of love.
Lección número 11. ¿Qué toca hoy? ¿Eh?
Hoy toca lo que tú quieras.
Ah, no. Lo que yo quiera no.
Live Flesh is so clever and alive and shocking that it makes a lot of Hollywood sexual melodramas look like sleepwalking. Almodovar has always been a talented stylist with a real visual flair, but here he also takes advantage of a plot with all the elements of superior soap opera. Based on a novel by the British thriller writer Ruth Rendell, Live Flesh is one of the most flamboyantly entertaining European films in a long time. It's got all the energy that Palmetto was lacking.
That's a good comparison. And maybe it's that he's working off of someone else's story that focuses him a little bit, because frequently, as you said, in his recent pictures, they've been a lot of flash, but nothing of substance.
Off on a tangent, and here he has a tightly, it's only really 4 main characters and the various ways that they connect.
But also, what is distinctive about him, of course, is the use of sex as weaponry.
Yes.
And here we see it being played for real. It really counts for them. It's not a gimmick. Sometimes we think things have been introduced as a gimmick in his pictures. Not here.
Yeah, and didn't you like the way it looked? All those bright colors. I mean, there's always, it's just like lots of action on the screen.
Day glow.
Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs down for the disjointed Palmetto with Woody Harrelson, which has the elements of good film noir, but not the wit. 2 more thumbs down for Senseless, a promising comedy sidetracked by distractions. 2 thumbs up, though, for the audacious and seductive Dangerous Beauty, a historical melodrama with a bravura performance by Catherine McCormack as a Venetian courtesan. 2 more thumbs up for Vanessa Redgrave and Mrs. Dalloway, a performance where all the secrets are under the surface. 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up for Gary Oldman's triumphant and powerful directing debut in Nil by Mouth, with its hard truth about a damaged family. And finally, 2 more thumbs up for Pedro Almodovar's extravagant melodrama, Live Flesh, his best film in a decade, and we have agreed on every movie on this show.
Which proves that one of us is learning something, and I think it's...
me. Okay, I mean you. Okay.
Remember, you can hear our reviews on the web at Siskel-Ebert.com. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Krippendorf's Tribe, a comedy starring Richard Dreyfuss and Jenna Elfman.
That will be the subject of our film, a rare, primitive circumcision ritual.
Also, Dark City.
How are you? We might ask the same question. Yes. Sleep now.
Science fiction thriller starring Rufus Sewell and William Hurt. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Now on video, Ewan McGregor stars in this critically acclaimed comedy.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, eh, girls?
I accept we can do without drugs and rock and roll.
Blast off. Rent it now.
Around 3 o'clock every day, I get a little crazy. I have to have this sweet hit. Luckily, this new Healthy Choice pudding really does the trick. Chocolate, raspberry, French, vanilla. With Healthy Choice, you can eat what you like.
If you're thinking about consolidating bills or getting a home improvement loan, call First Plus at 1-800-510-PLUS. At First Plus, we're working first for you.
Carnation Instant Breakfast, packed with 21 essential vitamins and minerals. It's a healthy start to your day. Carnation Instant Breakfast from Nestle.